This is Barney Cargill with our encouraging word for today on Saturday, July 18th. And our word for today is wedding. Jewish wedding customs were vastly different than ours today. And when a young man decided he wanted to marry a young woman, he would approach his father and he would meet with the bride's father. They would make an arrangement, and then they would meet in a very public place, the city gates. And the groom would, the father of the groom would then pay the father of the bride price, which wasn't buying the bride, it was her insurance policy to provide for her in the future. And then the groom would take a cup of wine and he would offer it to the bride. And she had a choice. She could either reject it, which would be really humiliating, or she would drink it, hand it back to him, he would drink it, and he might say something like this: "In my Father's house are many rooms. I go to prepare a place for you." They lived in a living arrangement called an insula, which was they had a courtyard in the middle, and then where they would cook meals and gather and so forth. And then each son would have his house built around the courtyard, or it would go up. Now he would go home and he would spend the next 6 months to a year building their home and preparing for the wedding feast, which was extremely expensive. And during this time, there's another factor that comes in, and that is no one knew the day or the hour when he would go get his bride. Only the father. And finally, the father one night would wake the son up, because it happened at night, and he would say, "Go get your bride." And he would gather his groomsmen, and they would begin a procession down the street. There would be a loud shout, "Behold, the bridegroom cometh." And they would blow a trumpet, a loud a shofar, a ram's horn. And then the bride and the bridesmaids would join them, and she would be placed on a litter and carried through the streets, literally rising up to meet him in the air. And then they would go to the father's house. They would enter their bedroom chamber, consummate the marriage, come out, and there would be like a week, 7 days of feasting and partying and joy. Now, in Scripture, now let's think about this. We're called the bride of Christ, several places. And you think about some of this imagery that, the bride price was paid by Jesus. The blood of the covenant, Jesus said that exact expression to his disciples the night that he died. And shortly following that, he said, "In my Father's house are many rooms. I go to prepare a place for you." And multiple times he said, "No one knows the day or the hour." And we are told we're going to rise up to meet him in the air. Now, here's where we are in this scenario, and that is we are waiting for our groom, Jesus, to return as the bride of Christ. And it's going to be an eternity of celebration. But there's one part of the story I left out. Jesus told a couple of stories. One is called the parable of the 10 bridesmaids or virgins, and 5 of them were ready for the groom to come because nobody knew the day or the hour. 5 of them were ready. 5 of them didn't have oil in their lamps, and the 5 that weren't prepared were left behind. Same thing as people started streaming the streets of the town as the groom was walking through town with his procession. Those that were too lazy to join them would stay behind and then try to sneak into the wedding feast, and they weren't allowed to. In fact, it says in Scripture, another story Jesus told, the gates were closed and they were not allowed to enter. And they would be outside begging to come in. Jesus said there would be the weeping and gnashing of teeth. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be left behind. I don't want to be left out of the eternal marriage, bridal celebration of the Lamb. But I'll tell you what this story is about. It's all about preparation. Because right now we have a lot of questions about what's going on in our world. Is this the, end of the world, end times? Is Jesus coming back? I don't know, maybe. We don't know the day or the hour. Or is there something worse? It's not worse, but other things going on in our world right now? I don't know. But here's what we do know. Jesus wants us to live in preparation. Over and over, he tells us, watch, be ready, be prepared, be on guard. We don't know when the day or the hour is. But I got to tell you, it's worth it. Because there is an eternity of celebration waiting with Jesus. I don't want to miss that. I'm excited. Whatever's going to unfold in the next few months or years, let's be ready. And that is my encouraging word for today.